Roman Nose State Park. What kind of name is that for a park? It doesn't make sense.
Roman Nose was once a popular name among Cheyenne people. Look at that nose, and you'll see what it means. This canyon was the favorite camping place for one Cheyenne named Henry Roman Nose. It is in the northern part of the land where the Cheyennes lived in Oklahoma. Long after Roman Nose died, the state of Oklahoma opened the canyon to everyone for camping and recreation.
Dad, was Roman Nose one of the warriors captured with my grandfather in our wars with the Army? Was he sent from Oklahoma to prison in Fort Marion, Florida in 1875?
Yes, he was one of the Cheyennes and Kiowas who drew these pictures of their old life while they were in the East 6 years. Roman Nose showed young men in a favorite sport, shooting at a mark with bow and arrow.
I wonder what kids used to do all day when they didn't have bikes or baseball or TV or school.
They had their own kind of education and their own kind of fun. As soon as the little boy learned to run about easily, his father, uncle, or older brother made him a small bow and some arrows. He would spend many hours stalking small birds in the brush by camp, and by the time he was 8 or 10, he could often kill them with his arrows. Kobe, the Kiowa, showed what sometimes happened. Each of the boys claims that he killed the bird, and the fist began to fly.
You mean they fought over a little bird?
Oh yes, it was very important. If a boy brought a bird home, he was praised, and the bird was cooked and eaten with the other food. In this way, the boy learned that a man got the food for his mother and sisters. By imitating his father, he learned the habits of animals so he would someday be able to stalk large game animals. He learned another thing by imitation, throwing the lasso. The Kiowa Itatliu shows a boy practicing on the camp dogs. A boy learned to ride a horse almost as soon as he learned to walk. At about 7 years old, he might be given the responsibility of herding horses for the day.
This gave him plenty of chance to practice riding bareback and roping horses. The horses don't look right. The farthest one is as big as the closest one.
The old way of showing distance in a drawing was to place the distant things near the top of the picture without making them smaller. This was done because our people drew things as they were, not as they looked. They knew that a horse was just as big whether he was in one place or another. When the boy was 12 to 14 years old, his father took him on his first buffalo hunt. Sometimes he had some adventures with the buffalo. Besides learning how to kill the buffalo, a boy had to learn how to butcher it. And here the boy's father appears to be giving him a lesson. The 2 quivers and bows on the ground show that both father and son have been doing the shooting. But the women have had no part until the butchering started and they rode up with the pack animals.
Our people believed that men should perform the dangerous work of hunting and war.
This does not mean that women had an easy life. The father and mother divided up the duties and shared equally in the work of the family. The mother cared for the home and children. She did hard labor like tanning hides and sewing teepees and preparing meals. Here, Whitehorse, the Kiowa shows another of the woman's duties. This woman has gone out to cut wood for fuel.
Why are all the lines coming out of her mouth, like in a cartoon?
This is an Indian cartoon. The line shows that she must have something to say to that pack mule. Here is the mother standing by her beautiful teepee and greeting a guest as her husband entertains his friends. A daughter is busy with a pointed stick, spearing chunks of meat from the kettle and setting them out to cool. The arbor over her head makes a shady place for cooking in the hot summer. The father has lit his pipe to start it down the line of guests. When all have had a turn, they will eat. The little boy can't wait. He holds a chunk of meat with one hand, plants his teeth in it, and will cut off the surplus with his knife. Perhaps the guest nearest to him is teasing him, asking for a bite. The boys in the teepee are not so bold. One holds out his cup. The other lies looking out the door at his father's invited guests.
Did our people go visiting a lot the way we do now?
Wohaw of the Kiowa tribe shows just that here. See how each member of the family in the arbor of brush shows pleasure at seeing the visitor. Even the little girl peeks out at him from behind her mother's skirt. The father, sitting on the ground, promptly offers his pipe to the visitor, a sign of friendship.
He is probably saying, "Get down, friend."
The grown son looks up from where he sits combing his long hair. They have staked out their best horses nearby for safekeeping from enemies, instead of turning them out to graze with the herd.
The dressed-up visitor has come from some distance, for he has brought his umbrella for shade.
Our people often gathered in a group just to talk and be sociable, as Kobe, the Kiowa, shows. Sometimes an old man would tell them stories like this that had been handed down to him through many generations. His own time illustrated a Kiowa legend in which the thunderbird brought messages from the Great Spirit above. By telling stories over and over, they would not be forgotten.
Just like the stories of the old days you're telling me.
While the boy of the family grew up pretty much on his own, the girl was closely supervised. Her mother, grandmothers, and aunts often gave her good advice, especially that she should stay at home and not run about the camp. From the time she was able to walk, she imitated her mother doing the household tasks.
Here a girl is tanning a hide. Let's look at the rest of the picture.
It shows the morning activities of the family of Squint Eyes, who drew the picture. This man is very dignified and carries a tobacco pipe, showing that he is a man of authority.
He must be the father of the family.
He has some last-minute words for the nearly grown son who is just riding away. The way the son is dressed shows that he is going out on the daily hunt to supply the family with fresh food. Young men were expected to do this as soon as they were able. Drying meat hangs on the racks, but the family saves it for the future when meat may be scarce. The dried meat and the tanned hide tells us that the family is thrifty and hard-working. Seeing the young people doing their share of the work tells us they were well brought up. Through the open door, we can see a young man, perhaps resting from a long, hard ride on horseback, hunting for food the day before. He is leaning against the teepee poles and smoking. Behind the teepee, two boys are wrestling. Their mother is cooking a breakfast of stew and coffee. Our people learned to like coffee from the white man. A choice piece of meat which the younger girl was roasting has dropped off her fork stick.
Look at that big dog. He's going to get the meat if the little kid can't hold him.
Zonakia, a Kiowa, shows us a way that young men sometimes pick out a wife by watching the girls playing shinny. This way he could be sure of getting a strong and active wife as well as a graceful and pretty one. The ball ground with goals at the ends is like a rough and witty football field, but even bigger. Each team tries to send the ball between its goals by hitting it with a curved stick. It is a long, hard, and rough game with plenty of scrambling and kicking. Why do you think the girls wore their best clothes?
Because they knew the young men would be watching. What did the young fellows do for fun?
Kobe, the Kiowa, shows us their horse races. The racers removed their saddles to lighten the horse's load and took off clothing that would get in their way during the race. Each man trained his best horse to race and took great pride in having a good racer. The picture shows the end of a race, with the fans cheering at the finish line and the winner turning to shake his whip triumphantly at the loser. This competition helped to develop horsemen who have never been surpassed. The Cheyenne Howling Wolf shows another popular contest, shooting at a mark. The location is a camp beside a stream. This is the way our people were taught to show trees and brush growing along running water. The teepees are set in a great circle with an open meadow in the center, where the contest is being held. Many blunt arrows have been shot at a distance of 30 or 40 yards, but only one man has hit the mark so far.
How do they tell who wins?
Each man will be scored both on accuracy and on the depth that his arrow penetrates the mark. A team of 4 is shooting now, and 2 who are finished are leaving, while many more are coming with their weapons to try their skill. One of the spectators carries a blanket, which he is probably offering as a prize to the winner.
I suppose they used to play the same game right here in this canyon.
Yes, I'm sure they did. And as you look around, you can see why Roman Nose camped here for so many years.
There were fuel, spring water, and a woods for animals he could hunt.
There was shelter below the high rock walls.
And there was plenty of good grass for the horses to eat.
His family was like ours. They needed a place where each member of the family could work and play and have friends.